So hello and welcome to today's Fork Friday, which we do at the end of every week at this time to look at trades we've taken. You can send charts in beforehand and you can send them in anonymously. I'll take the name off, just give me a trading view, screen grab, and we'll discuss how it went and how we could have got more pips on it. Today we're specifically going to be looking at entries and exits, and that was at someone's specific request. So I'm just going to start sharing screen. If you've got any specific pairs or days of the week or sessions or trades you'd like us to look at, I haven't got anything particularly set up, then let me know, and I really don't mind what we look at. So if anyone's got anything they want us to look at, let me know. So I'm going to start with Euro NZD. Now some of the pairs, they've got a speed. Some pairs go faster than others. Euro NZD is a very nice pair to trade. It'll give you 50 pips plus. You've got to look at your sessions. So London session's the biggest in the world, followed by New York, followed by Asian session. But you can trade all pairs any time of day. I tend to trade the London session, as you know. I just follow what Chance Gonham does. I do recommend you look at his YouTube Go Live channel 20. Favorited videos, fantastic. I've watched them several times. There's an entries and exits, couple of videos on there. Hi Debs. You can, I tend to start with the London pairs. So for London, that will be GBP, Swiss franc, which is CHF, and the euro. And euro USD is the biggest traded currency in the world. There are Forex majors, 7 major pairs, and the others are called crosses. So you'll get different spreads as well, and different amounts taken off you when you pay the broker's commission. You'll always start with a minus, and you'll see that will vary. So late at night when the markets are closing for us, the spreads, as they call it, as the brokers are settling up the end of the day and moving to the close and then into the Sydney session, will be far bigger. I don't trade at all towards the end of the day for that reason. New York pairs are USD and Canadian dollar, CAD, and then Asian session, AUD, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar, NZD, and JPY, the Japanese yen. Now, when you look at the speeds of currency pairs, some are very slow, and that's very good if you are just starting with pitchforks. So something like AUD-CAD, which moves at a speed of 4 out of 10, is very good. Swiss franc pairs tend to move more slowly. Something like USD Chef or GBP Chef. There is a currency pair speed document that Chance put together that I've got. It's in the file section of the Pitchforks group, my Pitchforks group. And then some pairs, there are 5 pairs which are very fast, 10 out of 10. They will give you bigger pips, but you have to manage them carefully because they can whip you out, you know, far more volatile. So they'll have bigger swings, and you need to look at how much profit. If you are in profit, it can swing back on you. So Chance's rule is he doesn't like to give back more than 50% of his profit. So the average time, and we'll go through some examples that we're in a trade, will be anything from 45 minutes to 4 hours. It's that kind of strategy. It's not a strategy where we're sitting with 50 pip stop losses and staying in it for days. We are intraday traders, and we're not scalpers though. We're not just taking 2, 3, 5, 10 pips. So it's a mix. We're using the 1 hour time frame analysis, and we are entering on the 1 minute. And it's the entry on the 1 minute that makes this strategy so powerful, because it enables you to operate with a 10 or 15 pip stop loss, which will always keep you in the game. So at 10 pip stop loss, you'd have to lose 50 trades in a row in order to blow your account, and that's what we like about it. With the 5 fast pairs though, you need a 15 pip stop loss because they need more room to breathe. And those 5 pairs are Euro NZD, Euro AUD, GBP CAD, GBP NZD, and GBP AUD. Okay, so those are the 5 10 out of 10 pairs. So in the morning, I will look at the, when I'm on Monday to Thursday, I'll look at the Euros and the euros and the GBP pairs. I don't tend to look at the Swiss franc ones so much because they are too slow. I'm not saying I trade all 10 out of 10. I don't. I quite like AUD-CAD and I like AUD-JPY. Connor did a very nice trade on AUD-JPY this week. And that was in London session. So you can trade pairs all times. The only times we do not trade is would be UK time 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Which is the blacked out session on my PC sessions timer. So we're trading this 22 hours a day. And the other thing about this is even if the scanner isn't working, even if everything's down, wherever you're taking trade ideas from, depending on what products you're using in IM, you'll always have a trade on this. You can trade anytime, anywhere in the world, because the old scans are highly accurate. And that's why it's worth doing the fiddly bit down at the 1 minute to put them on accurately, because every pip counts on this strategy. And if it's to do with angles, if you one pip out, you haven't got it on properly, then over that period of months, it will go out on the angle 50, 60 pips, making it impossible for you to trade. So Debbie, I don't know if you want to comment on any particular pair or anything you'd like me to look at, but before we go into that, you wanted to know how to reset the scale, and I couldn't quite see where you looked. So
yes, so on TradingView,
yeah,
you look down at the bottom where you've got your times.
Oh, at the bottom, yeah.
And your arrow on there. There's a little settings card that pops
Oh,
up.
that one here, reset chart.
No, I've got a little cog on the right hand side.
Oh,
underneath the price bar. So the price bar on the right, I've got.
Oh
there
yeah,
you go.
here, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
So if you press that,
yeah.
Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
What you've got checked. So
yeah, I've got regular countdown to bar close and currency. I've never reset that, so and I don't ever remember Chance showing us that, because if he had, I would have probably remembered and I would have moved it to his settings.
Okay, let me just take a quick look at that. Yeah, that's fine. I just wanted to check mine was the same.
Yeah, I looked at your picture, it looks the same.
The whole of the scan on the 1 minute chart, is that right? Because you just can't concertina the scan.
Yeah, if it's a big scan, you won't be able to, will you?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that figures. That's why I was getting a bit. I wonder if I got anything wrong or something.
Yeah, and I was getting up to date before this session, putting on some old scans I'd missed. And if anybody wants them, if you go into the Forex Traders DreamWorks, where we're streaming live, this one, then you, I've only gone back, I've never done it before, so I've only gone back to the beginning of July so far, but popular topics in posts, you'll find all the old scans saved here. So there's 12 for Euro AUD, GBP AUD, and if you're struggling, any of you, to put them on, ask me and I'll show you, because if they're older, you'll only be able to go back TradingView 2 weeks on the timing. So you'll have to go back to the 5 minutes and you have to look at where the time is to work out the highs and the lows, which can be a little bit, you know, the more you do, the easier it gets. But there's a lot of scans now saved on here if you want any of them. And I will try and spend some time going through before I'll go through June. I'll try and go back further and save some others. So back to Euro NZD, which is here. So if we look back at yesterday, I think I've taken the markings off, because this week's been a bit of a funny week because of Labour Day. We didn't have a lot going on. I think Wednesday was a bit tricky, quite volatile. So let's go back. So here's one here. Let's see what we've got. And again, if you want the, there is a trade sheet, as you know, a trade sheet which we use for each trade to tick off that we've got the confirmations. So mandatory is to have a pitchfork touch. So what we'll do is we'll play back. We'll look at some trades. So here we have, in fact, I've got two scans going on here. So let's go to the hourly, because you only need to pick one, obviously. This is the latest scan that I've got showing. And we'll have a look at this. We'll have a look at some of these. London, we'll have a look, because whatever happens in London, now it isn't cast in stone, but they call it the New York reversal, because normally if a pair has moved one way, and I used to trade for about 6 months, as Debbie knows. I traded 1 p.m. UK time to 2 p.m. UK time live, which is like a little consolidation period as London finishes and New York opens. And what happens is price will go down in London and it'll rest a bit for that time, and then in New York it will reverse. It's called the New York reversal for that reason, and it will New York will generally move between 2 and 4 p.m. UK time. So there's some little rules to kind of help tune you in, because I looked at a couple of setups this week for sells in New York, and I thought to myself, no, wait a minute, why are you looking at sells if it's been selling in London? And sure enough, it marked it up instead as a buy, as reversals, and that was correct thing to do. So we'll just look at, we don't want the green scan, you don't need both of them, so I'm just going to hide that for the moment, and then we'll come back to the 1 minute, because sorry, we'll just look at the other things. So Chance doesn't do this. I suppose he's so experienced. This is a little bit of an unusual scan, because although it's a sell scan, you can see the pitchforks are pointing slightly upwards, and only about 5% of scans do that. And it makes them slightly unusual, because obviously this is all based on both the scan, the 5 points of reversal, and pitchforks are based on Fibonacci and maths. So if you're in a sell scan, you'd expect the angles, the reversals, to show the pitchforks pointing down. But in this case, you can see that angled up slightly. So not necessarily sort of the best scan, but we're looking for sells on this if it's a sell scan, until it hits that solid line, the median. So there's certain things you kind of tune into. Your session you're in, days of the week, Tuesdays to Thursdays, a bigger pippage than Mondays and Fridays. If you read anything like Baby Pips and Pips, Investopedia, FX Streets, there are various sites that sometimes I'll read, and some really good sort of basic Forex learning, or go to the im.center and look at your academies for specific technical sort of library. But these other little tips are very useful, and the faster pairs will give you bigger pips. So something like EN, you'd be going into it to expect to get 30 to 50 to 60 plus pips sometimes, but you wouldn't expect that on HourGlass or Euro GBP slower pairs. You'd be looking for your 20 pips. Okay, so let's look at the 1 minute, and we'll do some replay and discuss, and please feel free to ask questions about setups, because that's what it's all about, isn't it? Now, the important thing about trading this strategy, and I've done it myself many times, I've been in a rush, I haven't had time to get my head around it, I've come straight on to trade, and it's really not good. You need to set up your charts, have a think about what pairs you want to trade, and know what you're looking at. It's Chance always calls it like running onto the sports field without having your gear on. So set your charts up a couple of hours before with your alerts, and then when you come on and the alerts have gone off, your subconscious brain is already tuned into it. You're not thinking, oh, I'm not sure, is this a buy or a sell? Which way am I going? I do find that very helpful. So this is 11th. Oh, that's today. I want to come back, not do a Friday. I want to come back to the day earlier in the week. Let me just do some replay back here in London. So Now, what happens in Tokyo, if you look at any pair, generally, here's the blackout section that we do not trade. I thoroughly recommend you put this PC FX sessions timer on. I find it extremely helpful to look at where Tokyo is coming into London and where the market's slowing down and going into that New York reversal. So Tokyo, you'll often find that the whole market only moves a range of about 20 pips, sometimes 50. So if you look here, so hang on, I've got the magnet on, that won't help. There to there is 18 pips. So you can see that it only moved about 20, and then you often get a little fake out just as it comes into London. That hasn't done so much of that here. It's done about 30 pips the other way, and then it's shot up. It wanted to go upwards. So when we start to look at a trade, number one, we have to have a pitchfork, unless, and the exception to the rule, your pitchfork leg is more than 60 pips. And here it's 46, in which case you can take buys and sells if you want to off the quarter theory, because otherwise you'd be hanging around forever without finding a trade. So that's the exception to the rule. Now, I'm not sure. I must ask Chance this question. I've never actually asked it. I think you have to wait until it's reached the median anyway before that comes into play. But in fact, I'm not sure you do. I'm going to double check with him. I'm not sure you do when you have the very big scan, when you could come in on a quarter theory. But I will double check that with him. So let's come back to, let's put our replay on. And we're going to replay from where we come out of Tokyo. And you can see just as we get to Tokyo ending, sorry about the dog, the orange is going to, the 62, our current trend, it did cross down in Tokyo, and then it's going to come up. We don't know it's going to come up. We don't know if we're looking for a buy or sell. What we have got here is a pitchfork touch and a lot of stall out. So the candles and the wicks will always tell you the story. So you've got a lot of stalling out here for 30 minutes of stall out, which tells you price, although it's below the 62, just keep breaking it down. That's what I do the whole time. I break it down. If I think, well, I'm not sure what I'm looking at, I literally take one thing at a time. So I say, okay, I've got a pitchfork touch. I know this is a sell scan. I know I'm coming into London out of Tokyo, which is my favorite trading session, and I might get a fake out. You can see it's gone up to quarter theory, and the 62 is saying sell, but all that 30-minute stall out is saying buy. And the reason it's saying buy is because price fails to break through. It just can't make it at all. And also look at your hour, because you'll get hourly fake outs to the other side. So in this case, it's gone up to quarter theory and then come back down. But then I would look and say, okay, I can see that I've got an upward trend forming here. So that's the next thing I would look at. You can see, because the market is always making different channels. So it's formed a channel there, and now it's saying it doesn't like that channel anymore. It's stalling out and going to form possibly a new channel. You can do it like this way, or how Warren taught me, which is where you can come here and put a parallel channel on and then just drag it across. But the important thing is you must keep the same angle. You can't vary these lines. They must be parallel. And this is one of our confirmations called channel trading, one up there, down there. So you could take a buy off that, except you wouldn't, because you're underneath the 62 EMA and you'd want price to be above it. And then you need to look at how many pips you are off the pitchfork. We'd probably only take a trade about a maximum of 7 pips off a pitchfork. If it's 10, if it's gone 10, even on a fast pair, you wouldn't want to trade it. So let's, because you must be working to your compounding 2-to-1 risk to reward. We risk 2%, i.e. 10 pips, to go for our standard 20 pips, which is our 4% gain. And that is the rule that we stick to. So that's why it's important not to be sloppy and take trades and just say, oh, I'll grab a few pips at the end, because it can peter out. You need the pitchfork as your strong boomerang we're looking for reversal trades off the boomerang of the pitchfork like that. It's reversing, rejecting off it, or we're looking for the break and the retest down through it. So let's play this out. So we can see we're just going to come into London, and okay, now we've got the orange. We've had the pitchfork touch here, but we didn't get a really good retest back to the pitchfork. It has crossed above for the buy. We cannot take a quarter theory trade because it's below 60 pips on the pitchfork leg. And we can see strong momentum push up, strong candles pushing up. So no trade yet, no trade at all. Right, so now we've got a pitchfork touch. We've got a very strong momentum up on the 62 there. So what we're looking for is it going to break and retest and down, or is it going to try to break through? And if it does a break, sorry, is it going to reject here? Is it going to reject and come down, or is it going to break, retest and go, in which case we'd have a buy? I don't know what's going to happen. Let's see, but we've got strong momentum up. So here's this little fake out that it sometimes does as it switches from Tokyo to London. It's staying above the 62, so it's still telling you, look at all that stall out with the wicks. The wicks mean it didn't solidify. There's no volume there on the selling. Price is trying to push down, but the candle finally printed above the 62. So it's actually still telling you, always read the candles, because it's still telling you it wants to buy. So it comes on up. Oh, now we might have something. Now we might have a break and a retest for a buy. And if we do we have our other confirmations, which would be, you could put, this doesn't look like it's a fib because it hasn't come that far back down. You could put a fib on if it's reversed back and is pinging off preferably the 88.6, which would be somewhere down quarter theory, or 78.6. They are a zone unless they are more than 20 pips or 30 pips apart, and then you consider them separate. But chances favour it because it usually gives you the long 3-leg extension, that long leg on the Elliott wave, which is the lot of pips, is the 88.6. So a fib would be one. The orange crossing the blue is another confirmation. A channel touch would be another. And the pitchfork touch, and then the break and the retest, and a break and a retest of the 1-minute trend line. That would be another one.
You'd wait for the retest, would you, before you went in for a buy?
Always, always, always. Now, okay. Sometimes it's difficult because sometimes you get, if this candle had been a strong green candle, strong momentum candle down, and then that big engulfing blue candle up, I would get in. If this was happening up here and that had done that, then I might get in here, there, because you won't get a break and a retest. It's done. If it's done, you probably need slightly bigger candles like those longer ones. But if it does a push like this on a pitchfork, strong down and then up, you won't get a break and retest back. You'll come in here, because that is enough to tell you it's a momentum trade plus the steepness of the orange. Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah, perfect.
I know it's a bit difficult. It catches me out. You know, I've not got the 5 years that Chance has done. You know, so it's a confidence thing, isn't it? To think, but you know, that's a very powerful sign. So let's see if it gives us that break and retest. Yes, it does. Now notice how they've got a wick there on the green cell candle. It's wicked down to try to touch the 62 and break through the pitchfork, but it doesn't like it. It's still trying again. I would also, because you can see the timestamp below, it says 10:30. So at this point, I would look at the close of the 30-minute candle, because the candles and the wicks will always tell you the story. So if we look at the 30-minute candle, it was a strong blue buy engulfing candle. It had a tiny wick, so you had one big engulfing 30-minute, a smaller green sell candle on the 30-minute, both still above the 62, and the green sell candle is wicking off. It didn't like it hasn't pushed down, so everything's looking in our favor. Again, I don't know what it's going to do. We'll find out in a minute. And then we can look at exits. So I'm thinking I can get in on this at this stage. I've got pitchfork touch 1, which is mandatory. I've got a 9-pip break and retest 2, so that's nice. I'm above that 62 as well. Now, really, I would like a third confirmation. As you know, my favorite is when I've got quarter theory between price, entry price, and the stop loss, which I haven't got here. But what I could put on, because I don't know what this is going to tell us, this might say it doesn't want to do what we think it's going to do, because if I put that trend line on there, and trend lines are a zone, they can vary about a pip either side. So that you want at least 2 touches, but preferably 3 or more. You can have touches either side. So I've got, and try and anchor it, always try and anchor it. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 the other side, 5, 6. I've got 6 good touches. So I'm thinking, oh, is that a break and a retest, and does it want to fall down? You know, you can see the 62 is leveling off. So let's see what it does. So it touches the 62, it's stalling out, but it can't make it below. So at this stage, I've not got in the trade at all, because I'm lacking a third confirmation. And also, and I know this catches people out, the candles have not turned to a blue buy candle. They're still, so even though you've got the break and the retest, there's still sell candles. I have not got a buy candle. This is my first buy candle here, and the body's closed on the pitchfork with the wick below. So I'm thinking, oh, okay then, it does want to go up. So I would have put this on. I always use this as my guideline. And that's a nice area up at that quarter theory. It is a fast pair, so normally we have 15 pips. And that takes us to the that stall out area and the previous low. There, lines of support and resistance. So always look left to see what's going to happen right. So let's carry on, see what it does. So interesting. So we had that there. So you might have thought to yourself, I'm going to get in there because it is a blue buy candle. But what would have stopped me getting in is I would have been concerned about the break on this 1-minute trend. And as I say, I had no idea that this was going to do this before we came on. So I had my mandatory must-have pitchfork touch there, number 1. I had a second confirmation break and a retest there. But where is my third confirmation? Because if you look at that trade sheet, and you must always look at the trade sheet for the confirmations, my third confirmation would be a break and a retest of the trend, but it would have to be line coming down, because it would have to be breaking and retesting to the upside. Drawing the line on like this for the upward trend, it seemed to have done a break and a retest to the downside, which indeed now it's dropped below the 62. So that's why I wouldn't have got in on this one. So let's carry on, see what it does. Okay, so, oh, Benny, the dog wants his dinner. You'll have to wait. Pawing at my leg. So here you've got a break and a retest to the downside, and it's below the 62. Again, I don't know what it's going to do. So as we've had the break and the retest of the 1-minute trend, the pitchfork touch, and a break and a retest here of 10 pips, that is saying sell.
Is that at a point which you would think of possibly entering in for a sell then, Sarah?
Now I would, because it's given me the 3 confirmations for the sell. But as we saw on our chart, when we looked further out, we know that it's going to be buying, don't we? So I can't remember whether this will touch quarter theory. It might want to, you see where the 15-minute price likes to play between these two sometimes and come and test the 15-minute. So this might have been, so would I have got in this for a sell? Yes, possibly, because I've got pitchfork touch. It didn't do what I thought it would do, but it have I got the, because all you can ever do on this strategy or any strategy is look at your confirmations. If you've got your confirmations, you'll know that pitchforks are 70% accurate. Sometimes we do a lot better, sometimes we don't, but if you stick to that, you'll be fine on your compounding. So I've got pitchfork touch, number 1. I've got a break and a retest, 2. And I've got the break and the retest to the downside of the 1-minute trend. So I have actually got enough confirmations there. Sometimes they don't always play out how you think, because this week was a bit of a funny week. So sure enough, it just barely gave you, you'd have to have been very quick on that. And in fact, with your broker spread and commission, and I wouldn't have gotten that until it had come down here. So you would have only got 15 pips out of that. And once it did that stall out and started doing that, I'd be out the trade. I wouldn't stay in it to say, okay, it's going to go down further. Now, I mean, it may do. As I say, I'm not as proficient as Chance, but if I put a 1-minute trend on, that's your 11 o'clock, that's your 10 o'clock UK time fake out candle, so I don't mind that that's outside of my trend line. I don't really mind that either, because I've got 1, 2, 3, so I've got enough touches there. So it only gave us 15 pips, but the market this week has been a bit like that.
Yeah, I got in this one, Sarah, and got but I'd kind of moved me stop loss into 1 pip, so it was a risk-free trade, and I got stopped out
On that sell.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was quite a few like that this week where they didn't, you know, because normally with EN it would at least have done, you'd at least expect 25, if not 40. So this week is a bit of a funny one for back testing.
Yeah, I've been done a few times this week.
Yeah, so it's now turned above again, and we'll play on. Does it give us a break and a retest? If you're only 1 to 2 pips off, you can consider that in this market a break, a touch, because it's 6.6 trillion. So we do allow that. So it's gone to the buy side. It's done a break, quite a big. Oh, that's the cat turning up for his dinner, which means the dog barks. Sorry. Yeah, cat comes to the kitchen window, doesn't give a damn about the dog, and it drives the dog mad. I know it's tea time when they start kicking off. I should have fed him earlier. So a break and a retest. So maybe might have lacked a little bit confidence, thinking, well, that's quite a big break and a retest here for that buy. So if we take these off, so we're not getting confused, and mark it up again. So I think you had just had to be quite quick once you saw that stall out and saw generally how the market was moving this week after Labour Day, to think to yourself, I'll just grab those 15, or you might have got stopped out back here at 5, or at least if you had your stop profit in at 1 pip, no bad thing. As I once said to Chance, what do I do to compound my account? And he said, just don't lose. So, you know, the important thing is to get that stop profit in, but we can discuss that, because again, I've in the past got stopped out a lot of times because I've run it too tightly, and then the trade has gone on to do, you know, really good number of pips. So it's finding that balance to give these faster pairs room to breathe without you know, getting stopped out and giving up too much, but pulling down your percentage. So I try and move it down 5 pips, 10 pips, 15 pips. I try and move to the percentages, and then I think, okay, well, at least I got 5 pips out of it. So if we put a long position back on, let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's not the best week to look. We might look back a week before, look at another pair in a minute, because now it's just, we're coming up to that lunchtime period. It's just ranging. Price will always come back to that 62, and this is a line that is very popular with professional traders, because it's, I think it's what I've read, it's because it's nearest to the 61.8 pi, you know, the golden ratio. So price will always come back to this line. So it just is doing nothing very much. There's no trade here as it comes into New York. So it didn't do a lot for us in this London session. So what we'll do is look at how we're doing for time. Let's see, well, may as well finish playing this one out. We'll look back at another pair, but last week. Yes, now that was news there, which is why it did that. So it's not the best week to show you entries. So we'll finish with that one, and I think we'll go and look at another pair. But what we'll do is look at, if anyone's got a favorite pair or anything they want me to look at, we'll pick last week, say the Tuesday, if I can find it. So maybe we'll do something like in London, we'll do, I suppose we could look at GCAD we like. I don't know what that did last week. I got GU. Maybe we should look at GU. So let's come back to, just have a look at this. Sorry, I've got a lot of scribbles there. I think it's because I wasn't sure where a D point was on something. Should have gone to object tree, shouldn't I? I didn't realise there's so many little scribbles. Take that off, take that off. Put that back. So let me look at this. Now let's look at the Euro USD. Let's look at that one. So we've got.
Yeah, I've just drawn that one up actually, so it'll be good to have a look at that one.
Yeah. So we could look at where it runs up from there to there. Okay, so let's go back to London, 10th of September. That's still this week though. I don't want to look at this week. I want to look at last week. So I've got, shall I look at GCAD? And just find something. Oh, GCAD, because I know Robert likes this one. So see, over a period, 3rd of September, a lot of stall out drop. That's the close of market week. So again, for a very fast pair, it's been a little bit erratic. But I just was trying to find some nice moves where we've got, and then have I got my quarter theory on? Oh, it's because it's right. Okay. So we need to find something with current price anyway. Trying to find something that I like the look of. Maybe HourGlass quite a nice. That one I've put. Oh, it did stick to that D point. I drew it just before it had solidified. That one. Well, that looks like quite a nice run up from 7th of September, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th. That's the beginning of this week, isn't it? Maybe we'll look at that run up from, let's go back. How far back can I go on the 1 minute? I'll have to go back on the 5 minutes. I can only go back 2 weeks. And I'll go back on the 1 minute and I'll pick last week rather than this week. That's what we'll do. Let's just see what we've got on HourGlass, which moves 4 out of 10. Quite a nice pair to trade if you're new to this strategy. You feel quite in control, more in control of it. And make sure I'm locked on. So let's have a look here. There's something there. Right, okay, so if we come back, that's our pitchfork. Hang on, I need to look where I am on that purple scan. That's that one there. Just bring that up a bit more and make sure I've got, which one am I looking at? I'm going to look at this one, so I just need to bring up that line. Settings. I'm going to bring that one up and take this one down. Right, okay, that's it. And then we'll see if we can discuss some exits on it. So come back to the 5 minute. So I can get back far enough. Oh, I should be able to go to the 1 minute. See how far back I can get. Right. Let's do some. Come back down there. So if we, that's London. Okay, there's one there. So I need to fade out this scan because it's going to get in the way of looking. And oops. Wait a minute. I've got 2 white pitchforks on. I'm going to look at this area here. I'm going to look at that one. Right, so I want the 4th of September, which was a Friday. So we want to come in a bit more. Okay. Let's see how far back I can get, but I want to do a London session. The 9th. Right. There's the 4th. So we've got, let's play this then, replay, see if we can look at some exits. So that's, we won't look at New York, although it's HourGlass, which is Tokyo and New York session. So we've got, let's see what it does here. There's down, it didn't really do very much. Let's close of play again. There's one there. That's come out of Tokyo. So if we take that from Tokyo, see what we've got here. Okay. Right, so this 2 o'clock my time, so 1 a.m. So UK time. So we've got it coming up. We've got the oranges across the blue. It's coming above quarter theory, and we've got a junction of 2 pitchforks here. This is going to be a slower pair. So it comes up above quarter theory. It tests the 15-minute. Let me just get it. Is it bigger? It tests the 15-minute, which price will often do. It's still on its upward momentum. You can see that upward trend. If you drew a trend line, you can see a clear upward trend. The channel's been changing. See that channel there? Channel there, it broke it down to the 15-minute. It's above the 62, coming above quarter theory. And then here is a break and a retest. And let me see if I can magnify that for you. So here we have a nice setup because we've got a, how many pips is that? 6.4, and then above here it does 6.8. So it may not be a 10-pip break and retest, but that doesn't matter. And the reason that it doesn't matter is because you're reading it all in conjunction. You're off that quarter theory where it's stalled out and stalled out again. You've got a 6.4 or 6.5 break and a retest back to that pitchfork and back again and back again. It tries to break down to quarter theory. It then has an engulfing blue buy candle, 2 of them, back to test the 62. So although it's come under the pitchfork, it's staying above that. So everything is telling me, and that upward trend there, everything is telling me that that's very nice for a buy because of that. And it wicks off there. Again, I would look at my times as well. So there's that 3 a.m. UK time, which is why it dropped the other way, that fake out that it always does. So your entry point on this 424, you might not have, yes, you would not have got in there because again, you're looking for a candle in the right direction. So you're looking for a candle in the right direction. So although you've had all these breaks and retests telling you to buy and it's above the 62, you haven't got a buy candle that's above your pitchfork. The first time you get that is on this engulfing one here, and then that next one there would have been your entry as it's curled round. So all these are no, no, no in terms of getting in on the trade. And then the 62 crosses above the pitchfork, which is a very nice sign. And then if you took a parallel channel, you can see the channel would have given you another confirmation there, up, down, bit of a stall out, and it's working its way up the channel. But now if you do follow that channel, you can see it looks like it's petering out, and this is quite a slow pair. So that's the only thing that would give me a bit of cause of concern about whether I would actually get my 20 pips on this if I come in there. But let's see what it does. And I love you. I never work without the slider bar. I love it because you just know exactly where you are with things. We only need 10 pips on this one. So let's carry on. Stays above the 62. It's working its way up. Drops down. Oh, now this is not a good sign, is it? So we could see it was stalling out in our channel, failing to make, hasn't gone beyond the 50% line. And it's now broken below. So, and it's breaking below here. So not a good sign. So did we have our confirmations to take a trade? This one's a bit confusing because we've got two pitchforks touching, but we did have a pitchfork touch. We did have two very nice breaks and retests back to quarter theory and back to the pitchfork. And we had a channel touch down here, and we're above the 62. So a bit of a difficult one. We are coming out of Tokyo into London. Now Tokyo's range is only about 20 pips. Half the pair is a Tokyo pair, but it's not a big pip pair anyway. So okay, it does hold its own. So this is where you have to let trades sort of play out and say, well, I am covered. I've got the 62 in my favor, and I've got the pitchforks and the quarter theory between my entry price and my stop loss. It has just dipped below. So let's see what happens. Okay, now if that's the 10 pips, you'd put your stop. So if we were in, sorry, you wouldn't want to be in below that. You'd want to be in there. You wouldn't want to be, oh yes, if you got in there, it would have been along that line, wouldn't it? So that's there. That's about there. That would have been about there. So have we got a 10 pip break yet from that pitchfork up to there? 9.1. So you're just about thinking about putting in your 1 pip stop profit. So if you're a bit concerned about this coming back on you, then I would do that, because I'd be a little bit worried about this, although it does seem to be moving up and it is a slower pair, as I say. Let's touch the pitchfork. 744, here's our fake out, and it's now dropping below, and you can see how the 62's leveled off. So I'd probably be calling this, you know, this would have been a stop profited out one, I think. You just can't tell sometimes. So I haven't got any more trades yet. So if you had, yeah, you would, I would have been stop profited out there, but it looks like it is now going to go and do the move. So would you get back in? Possibly, you could think about getting back in. I probably wouldn't. I don't tend to do that. Sometimes I do on the faster pairs. So that's still buying and it's still curling up. Testing the 62, staying above. Just wicks off it at the 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock open of London, UK candle there. So it is moving up now. It will have done its 20 pips up there. So a little bit of a difficult one, because you could have either stayed in, but the problem is it's dropped below the 62 and below. I would have panicked. I wouldn't have wanted to have stayed in, and I would have been stop profited out at that stage anyway. And no, I wouldn't have got back in, but that's just my style of trading. But I can see it's done the 20 pips. If you look at that green line there, it does the 20 pips, but all that breaking below would have put me off, most definitely. So in terms of exiting the trade, it's not really perhaps a good one for about exiting. We want a profitable one. So we're just finish on looking at, what else have I got that we could look at? GBP, JPY. Just looking, I want to see a profitable move where we can just look at an exit. I need to find a, and if anyone's got any questions, please ask. not a problem. Come back. There's a rundown. Okay, so I haven't got quarter theory. I wanted to show you one with quarter theory in it. I'd have to draw them on. I don't want to draw them on GJ. EN, Euro JPY. I want to look at another London pair. GA. See if we can find an exit on this one. Just come back rather than doing this week, which I found a bit. What have we got here? 178. So if we draw a quarter theory on up there, we could do this one. So let me just clone that. All right, it's not letting me do it. I'll just do it like this. Horizontal line, 50 pips, 178, 500. That's our next quarter theory. And then 179. Brilliant. Oh, there we are, clone it. That's what we want. 179, 50 pip increments, right. So let's just put that on, 179. That's it. It didn't go that way, it dropped. I thought it was going to go up and it didn't. Let me take that alert off. Okay, great. So where is my, oh, that's because I thought it was going to come up into that scan up there. So it's in this scan, it went down into this one. Let me put that in green. And let's have a look at this one. Let me just fade out that settings, change that to pink. Just fade that out and I'll change this to white so you can see it better. There. Okay, so this scan is from don't know when. Won't waste time having a look at it, doesn't matter. I know it's valid. So we are, so in London, so price on GA, which is 10 out of 10. So you've got an Asian session pair, but you can see it just did absolutely nothing all the way through Tokyo. Nothing, nothing, stall out, stall out, stall out. So price is resting and eventually it has to decide it wants to do something. So GBP, London pair. So the orange crosses above the blue, price comes up to quarter theory, test the 15-minute. As it comes into London, it does it again, but it's stalling out. It tests the 15-minute again, but you can see that shallow upward momentum there. It then crosses above quarter theory and it's now outside of, sorry, it's now testing. It's come up to the extensions of this scan, and I can see in the background the ones I've faded out are the Fibonacci's, the extensions of an uppermost scan. But what's happened is it didn't like that. Price didn't want to move up that far. So actually it does a big move at the end of London. So we're going to replay this and talk it through, and talk through exit as well. Talk about when we're going to get into this trade. So I thought it was going to buy, and it didn't, and it dropped for a big sell, but I didn't get in because it didn't do what I wanted, and I kind of moved on to something else. So there's that buy that I thought was going to happen in these Fibonacci's for an upward scan, and it was above the 62, but in fact it rejected off. This is like a double top. It's rejecting off the outer Fibonacci's with this downward scan, and let's start to play it. So it comes down to quarter theory. It's done all that stalling out, but this time it finally says, sorry, I don't know what I've done on the 1.89, 1.9. Sorry, that one can go. That's your 50 pips. I marked it up wrong. 50 pips between your quarter theory. But this time it says, do you know what, I'm going to go. And it's not just, you see here, it's tested the 15-minute. This time it says, bang, I'm going right through that. So when I look at something like that happening with that strong momentum, and sometimes it's fast money, secure the bag. If you are in a trade which drops really rapidly, then it's always best just to close out once you've got your reward ratio that you want, because invariably, if it has done that quickly, it can equally reverse that quickly on you. So I would be putting a short position on here. That's the kind of setup I really like, where I've got my quarter theory behind my pitchfork. And on a pair like this, I'd be looking to go down to that 40 pips. I can see a stall out there at 23 pips. So whatever trade I'm getting in, and it's so true what Chance says, whatever trade you're getting in, as you get in a trade, think about what your exit is. So when I'm running a trade, I'm always thinking, is this the trade where I can go to 40, or on a fast pair like this, that take profit third zone of 80 to 90 pips. So on a pair like that, that's what I'm thinking of. And then what I do, just the way I do it, Chance I don't think does it like this, but I like to put my line on, and I'll be running that, and then I'll go over to my C trader to move it, and I'll show you why I'm moving it. You've probably seen me done it if you're on any of my sessions. So, okay, I'm not in the trade, but I'm extremely interested in this now. I would also look back on the 15-minute to see where previous lines of support and resistance are. Sometimes have a quick look back, because I'm looking to see if it's what we call a banker's move, if they're coming down to collect some money, which will be in line with my take profit idea over here. And then let's see what it does. So very fast pair, as you know. So that's a great sign. The orange has crossed the blue. When I said very fast pair, if it had banged right back up to test the 62, that wouldn't necessarily have worried me, because it's a fast pair and it will want to test these major levels all the time. Oh, and there we are. That is a very fast move. I don't know if there's been news. It's just wicked off that old pitchfork. I love the way the markets work like that. Then I'd be saying, okay, can I get in? That's 24 pips, which is quite a big break and a retest there. But we have got the 62 coming down. So all I'm thinking of now on this is I would like that 62 to be further down here, because it could still come and curl off on you. So let's see what happens. Oh no, it carries on. I would not be in the trade yet though, because patience is everything. And the reason I wouldn't is because that would be too far away for me up here, and I wouldn't have liked speed. I see that nice stall out there, you know, drop, stall out, drop. So, and lovely break and a retest back there. So quite no, a bit risky for me, quite comfortable. Maybe Chance would have got in because that strong engulfing move there, the buy side candle is wicked up. 1, 2, 3, 4 minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 6 minutes of rejections. So could have got in here.
The 62 and the 930 have crossed though, haven't they?
They have crossed, and it's a lovely strong downward momentum. I think Charlie, it depends. Like when I'm sitting here thinking about trading, you get a feel for the charts, because I would have been watching this for quite a while and felt the movement. So then I just feel that confidence thing about saying, yes, it's got enough going for it. So I do agree with you. I probably would have got in there.
I know what you mean though. I like to wait for the 62 to catch up.
I know, I agree with you, especially on these fast pairs, because they can just do the dirty on you. And it's much better, as Chance says, to have the 3 confirmations all in the same box between your price entry and your stop loss. So let the 62 come down into here, because even when it's in here, it can curl on you and keep you trapped in here for ages. And that's just like one of the worst things to be. So it's really hard to be patient. But often price as well will give you another go at an entry. So would I have got in? I don't know.
Especially on the faster pairs.
Yeah, I agree.
These 2 or 3 chances. EN quite often, I get stop profited out on the first one and then get back in again for the second one. And I'm starting to learn now, if you miss the first one, the second one still comes.
Yeah, and don't worry about it, because it's much better than being whipped out on a stop loss, isn't it? Because it's suddenly decided it's doing something different. So, okay, in this instance, we didn't get the second entry. That was 4.5 pips off. But there it's crossed into the box. So that would have been, as Charlie's saying, our perfect sort of zone with that lovely strong momentum. Chance may well have got in on something like this, but he's got such an experienced eye, hasn't he? Let's see what happens now, and then bang.
There'll be a good trend line down from that top as well, is there, for that first touch?
That's true. We could have done that, couldn't we?
If you're looking for extra confirmation. Looks like it should fit. Close.
Yeah. And there's our half hour. So a nice, it does fit, doesn't it? At that point. And the 62 would still have been up there. Yeah. So you did have the downward trend line. You did have the downward trend line, because that was a very nice move. It did the 43. Let's see if it's finished. So 2 rejections off the pitchfork, still lot of momentum. As Chance says, there's no reason to get out of a trade while you're the correct side of the 62. You can see there, that's another half hour candle. They cancel each other out. So you're now down, if you had got in on that. Oh my God, that's like 1 to 8, 1 to 8.5 risk to reward. But if you were running the trade down, if you were in it, then what I do is move it to, I wonder if I can back up a bit. I never know how to back up on these things.
You can put your line back again. I can't just remember how to do it, but you can move your line back.
I know, that's what I can't remember how to do it. Is it this one? No, the replay.
Drop your line again.
I don't want to exit though, do I?
Oh, I can't remember.
No.
I did it accidentally one day.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. I don't want to come out of it, otherwise it'll take us right out the whole thing. So if I put a horizontal line on, do it an old-fashioned way.
There was quite a bit of news out, but not very much of it was pound news. Most of it was euro or Canadian.
Right. So at this point, the 62 was right up here. So if I had got in the trade there, and I'm running that down. So once it's done its 15 pips, which is here. That's my 1-to-1. So at that point, I can put my 1 pip stop profit in. But fast pair, do I really want to have my stop profit this side of the quarter theory, the pitchfork, and remember the 62 is still up here, and the answer to that is no. So often what I will do in this instance is I will leave my stop loss here until the 62 catches up. It's a bit risky because, you know, but sometimes if you do this, you can just be whipped out. And I've been whipped out of things like EN at 13 pips and it's gone on to do 80 because I've got, you know, panicking about it going into stop loss. And then I thought, oh, good, at least I'm risk free now. So this is a judgment call really, because you have got very strong momentum down. So as it then gets to 20 pips, which is now my 4% to my 2% risk, then you've now got, sorry, replay is easier, isn't it? Because the 62 is now down there. But what I'm doing whilst it's moving down is I stay 3 pips behind it, at least. That's what Chance says to do. And then I'll move it. So I've got 5 pips in profit, then 10 pips in profit, then 15, and then 20. And that's how I run it. I try and run it at those percentages. And then as for getting out of the trade, it's 2 stalls off. I'd be 1 to 8. So bang, I'm probably out of the trade at that point. Because once it starts to do this, and I think, well, all right, well, I can't remember on this pair whether it does run down through here, but that is a hell of a gain. That's like a full week's, almost 25 pips a day, 80 pips. So that's three days work. And then you're into how many pips are you having to give up. And once you get to giving up, that's giving up 34. So once you're back up at quarter theory, you're going to be giving up 50% of your profit. And to Chance, that is the absolute, like, he will not give up more than 50%. So I'd rather take the extra 40 pips and bang on that second stall out, be out, rather than think, well, is it going to do the break and the retest through those 2 major levels and give me more pips down there? Sometimes, and if it does, then you could think about the stacking at that level. So let's see what it does. So again, another rejection off quarter theory, and the 62 slightly leveling off. Back up. So now it's broken the 1 minute trend line. First indication to be out the trade. Second indication to be out the trade once it breaks the 62, and you can see it curling round. So so I would have been very pleased, and I don't always get it right, but by far, because you have to be confident to press the button, balance the gain you've made against the greed and knowing you're in a fast pair. And then I can tell you the number of times I've regretted not pressing it there, and then I've come out and I've given up 40 pips. So I've given up 50%, and I thought, oh God, I better get out now. And I could have had 40 more pips for our work, because this is our job now. This is our work. We want to be paid for being on the market. So let's see what it does. Okay, well, then it decides it's turning. I don't know what time that is. That's coming up to the hour there, and it's going to break through. I still would have been out there and been very happy with that. I know it's hard when you see it goes on to do this. So it will now want to, price will always want to go to its major levels. So on a pair like this, yeah, there it goes. And we know that was a long run down, because this is obviously the long extension leg, and this is going to be forming probably the new C point on a scan. That's what's happening here. And there it is, 2 rejections off that pitchfork. So in fact, it went for, yeah, that's a big move, 175 pips. So whether Chance was still in that, that's the sort of chart I'd submit to him on the Monday night, where he goes through things to say, would you have stayed in this, or would you have taken your 80 pips? He might have said he would have done a stack in, because that's the best thing to do. So you put a stack in on your quarter theory. This is opening a second trade, and you then close this one. So you close that one at your 80 pips, and you put, let's take that off. You make sure that your stop loss, you try and get your stop loss so that you're not giving up. You're not giving up if it whips you out. Well, at worst, you're gonna lose 10. Well, you'd lose 15 pips if you're working to the same ratios on these fast pairs. So you're saying to yourself, I've got my 90 pips. No, I wouldn't have got 90. It would have been probably 80, 85, 2 stall outs there. If I was quick enough to think, I better get out of this thing. So say you've done 85 pips there. So the worst you're going to lose is you're going to be giving up if it goes wrong on you. 10 pips there. Get in on the quarter theory for a stack in second trade, and then you know that you can run that down quite comfortably and aim for another 50 pips. So you could have had 85, 185 plus 50, 135 pips off that one trade, and that would have taken you, so that's the way to have run that one, would have been the stacking. And indeed it broke through again. It broke straight down, so you might have got another 80 there, because it broke straight down. So you could have stayed in that. You could have said, I've done 3 days work, I can afford to be a bit more risky on this one. I'll see if it will push down to that pitchfork. So that whole trade would, for all those pips, was 2.5 hours. So most fabulous trade. I mean, just fabulous trade, that one. So that would have given you 85, 2 8 to 16, 165 pips. Amazing, 165. So that's like 8 days work, nearly 2 weeks work. Still below the 62. So you probably would have come out at that point, because I mean, you know, it's an amazing trade. And I don't know about you, but I wouldn't have sat in, having done all that, I wouldn't have sat in another 40 minutes of stall out. I mean, why would you bother after such a fabulous trade? You just wouldn't. And now it starts finishing, I think. No, is it going to go another 50? Another 50. And this is all through New York. It's selling hard. So would I have opened a third trade? I'd have seen that going. Stall out off the pitchfork, break and retest rather, 17 pips. Below the 62, another break and retest. And then once it comes here, you could have possibly thought about another trade here. But I probably wouldn't have wanted to have messed up such a good day, and it's late in the day on New York, so no, I wouldn't have done that myself. Definitely not, because of the timing. I don't like working in the evenings. So you know. So that's the end of that one, really. So I hope that's been helpful. Some entries and exits today. I'm going to stop share, see if there's anything in the chat. Debbie, I have to go. Have a good weekend. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Sarah. Do you have guidance on best way to save your charts if you have a Pro and a Pro Plus? Hi, Steph. Pro Plus account. Best way to save charts. Well, save charts. You're meant to save them. I did it the wrong way around when I started. So now I have the way you shouldn't do it, which is I have them all as individual charts. And there's no way I can possibly undo it, because I've got far too many charts saved on them. But the way you're meant to do it is by creating a watch list. I do have them marked up the same colors, and then you'd open that. You just click on that to open it. That's how you're meant to do it. You click on that to open it, and then you save the template with the settings, and you should have all the scans saved on that template for that pair. I think that's how it works. But as I say, I'm sorry I did it. I'm not the best person to ask, because I did it wrong at the very beginning and got stuck with it the way I've got it. So I can't, otherwise I'd whiz through all 24 pairs quite quickly in the morning the way Chance does. So now what I've decided, what I do is I try and have a look beforehand and work out the London pairs and see where some setups are, so I'm not wasting, because I know some people have to go to work and things, not wasting time looking at pairs and saying, oh, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. I try and do a bit of pre-work before coming on. So there is Samantha on channel 20. I've just been looking at their Pip Talk. Here's the updated schedule, by the way, in Pip Talk page 2. And then they do post all their trades setups for us. But if you go to go live and just have a look at their channel. Oh, there's people on now. Forex Basics must be under that. Here we are. If you go to their channel and look at their favorites, and I strongly recommend them, there's some fabulous stuff on here. Then the one you want is Samantha's done one, Sam's done one on how to set up. Here we are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th video long, how to set up TradingView from scratch. I'm not entirely sure though. She goes into how to actually save charts and prepare a watch list, because I remember watching it thinking that would have solved my problem, and it didn't. Here you've got how to find take profit zones. I haven't watched that one. Well, I must have watched it if it's from June, but I don't remember it. And then there's 2 very good entries and exit ones. Oh, that's what I was trying to do on GN, back testing, which I lost it because I was opening it on another computer. There's the stacking in one, which we've just been through. That's the hull we use for exits. We didn't have time to go into that today. I don't always use it actually myself, to be honest. I'm not sure how much Chance uses it. I do check it, but not specifically where to exit. So where's the other? Take profit zones, how to enter. I thought there was another entries. I thought he had 2 entries and exits on here. And these are worth going over 2 or 3 times, these, because your brain takes it in better. I think they've entries and exits, multi-time frame analysis. That's the hull. So stacking in is a good one for entries and exits. And how to find the trend, I think, was quite in best time to trade, not that one. Yeah. How to find the take profit zones is very good as well. But that I feel I've got down quite well. So that's about it for today. I hope that's been helpful to everyone. I'm just going to stop recording.